All right, welcome to the Fast and Slow podcast. I'm your host, Nick, and with me as always is Nate, here to dive into everything motorsports, from the latest racing action to the behind the scenes of our own garage projects, and of course, all the racing events coming up that we're itching to talk about. Whether we're geeking out over our car projects or breaking down a race, we're here to keep you in the loop with all things fast and sometimes slow. So jump in with us and let's hit the track. Nate, we hit the big time, man. We're podcasters.
It's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this forever.
Yeah, it's almost a whole hand's worth of years. I'm pretty sure you and I have been talking about starting a podcast.
It's one of those things that you're like, yeah, it'd be nice, but when are you going to have the time? What are you going to talk about? What are you going to do? But you
Yeah,
had a good point. It's like we talk about cars so much anyways. You know, why not record it? And
yeah. Might as
there's
well
our
document
podcast.
it. Exactly. So what have you been up to?
And well, as you can see, I'm dressed for winter and in my garage. So when we get to slow, I'll delve into that. But um, really, just moved from Indiana to Ohio in this fall. So life is wild, man. We got kids starting school and new job and new house and just trying to stay afloat, let
Yeah,
alone keep on top of projects and do stuff like that. But
yeah, no doubt.
it's crazy.
I'm I guess we'll say undisclosed location. I'm overseas right now.
Yeah, I don't know how you want to handle this.
Yeah, we'll just call it work. And maybe later when I get back, we'll talk
Yeah,
about the details just to, keep everybody safe. But yeah, so
sure.
in the United Arab Emirates right now. So uh, in the fast segment, we'll be talking about the Formula One race I went to, which was insane.
I'm not a big Formula One fan. You could almost call me a Formula One skeptic. So I can't wait to hear what country boy from USA has to say about Formula One.
Yeah, dude. So I was on the fence because like tickets were insane. I mean, I spent way more money than I spent like Taylor Swift eras level dollars on this ticket. And I was like, I was not going to
Oh
do
my
it.
word.
I was not going to do it. I was like, this is dumb. I could buy, to put it in perspective, I could probably buy half of a EFI kit, a sniper EFI kit. Like it was like very expensive. And Sarah was like, Nick,
Wow.
when when are you ever going to be in Abu Dhabi again when a Formula One race is happening? Uh, And I'm like,
Never on purpose.
I hope never again. I don't ever want to be back here again. Uh, so because I drug my feet, the tickets just kept getting more expensive. But I went with three other buddies that were here with, and it was cool. We got there at like 9 o'clock in the morning and started walking around, and they had the F1 Academy race, and then about an hour and a half later, they had the F2 race, and it was kind of nice how they split it up. All the racing started around 10:30 or 11, and then it was like race for 45 minutes to an hour, break for an hour and a half, race for an hour, break, and then like build up to the final event. Um, we were kind of bummed, and this is where I think the country boy in me, where I expected a little more access, was like woefully
Mm,
disappointed. So we got
yeah.
they have at Yas Marina, they have like a grassy hill, and that's general admission. So it's like in the center of the track. It's a massive hill that everybody sits on. And I was like, well, man, if we get there early, they're going to be doing testing and the F1 Academy and the F2 race. Surely we'll be able to go up in the grandstands and like watch those races that nobody really cares about. And we got turned away from every
Yeah.
single gate. They were just like, no, no, no,
Oh
no,
my
no.
gosh.
Your general admission, get out of here. So, which
That's,
that was kind of
I mean, I
frustrating.
guess that's exactly what I expected, but it's still, I'm disappointed for you.
Yeah,
Only
yeah,
because So just so you know this, but so now everybody knows this, the racing that I love, especially, is IMSA series here in the States. So yeah, big sports car fan. I love the all the road racing. So when I talk to people, everybody's like, "Oh, don't you love Formula One?" And we can get into why I've just not gotten into. It's not that I dislike Formula One. It's I've not put a concerted effort into learning about it and following along on the stories. And but it's also that kind of thing. It's like every time I go to an IMSA race, sometimes I feel like they shouldn't be letting people this close. Like I shouldn't be allowed to stand this close to the track. I shouldn't be allowed to, touch the car. Like
Hmm.
they're letting toddlers in the cars on the pit walks. Like they're like, and then but that's like, I don't know, that's one thing I love about it. So
Yeah.
I would be there. If I were in your shoes, I would be like comparing it to maybe the too much access that IMSA gives you. But
Yeah, that and like, you go to like an NHRA race and it's the same thing. You're in the pits kind of
mhm.
rubbing elbows um and I mean to be totally honest, I'm not a huge Formula One fan either. Like the racing's boring. It's, you know,
Yeah,
uh, it's really cool in real life. Like they go so fast
yeah,
and you know the hill, you could kind of go on one side of the hill and see kind of like the turn portion of the track, and then on the other side of the hill was the back stretch that they're just really going really fast by you, and watching them do the turns at whatever speed they're doing, it's just like this physically doesn't make sense like how
it's
quickly
not
they're
compute.
going. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
um so that was
Yeah,
kind of a bummer
I'll never
bummer
make
but
the claim. I'll never make the claim that they're not, the top tier of what they do. I mean, those cars are alien spaceships compared to probably what IMSA is working with now. But
yeah,
it's
yeah,
that. It's like you can be the best, but it's like as far as an entertainment value, I just haven't latched on to it. And it's yeah, I get it. They're incredible cars, but it's still nothing like watching like multi-class racing like on a road course. You
100%.
know,
Yeah, M's is my
even
jam.
I feel the same way about IndyCar. Honestly, I mean the the speedway races get exciting, obviously, and I will watch like an IndyCar road race because I think it's like a fish out of water kind of situation.
Hmm.
But um, yeah, something about the multi-class stuff, just the entertainment value is just there.
It is. And, I watch NASCAR religiously. Like, that's what I watch on Sundays. But, dude, I don't know, man. After this season, it was a very boring season, in my opinion. And since I've been in
Mm.
this work trip, I've been watching like free YouTube road racing, whether that's Goodwood or, GLTC
Mm.
from Grid Life, SCCA runoffs. Like,
Yeah,
that shit is free and it's the most entertaining racing you'll see in IMSA, right? Like all those things are just,
yeah,
light years better than
yeah,
F1.
yeah. And since life is always in the way, I find myself watching IMSA after the fact on YouTube anyway. I couldn't tell you the last time that
Mhm.
I sat down and watched it in real time. Just it's nature of the beast. But
Yeah,
and then
I
especially like their YouTube channel has gotten a lot better too, where it's like I've only got eventually, unfortunately maybe a month after the race, they'll
hmm
be like, here's a 10-minute recap,
hmm
here's a 45, a more detailed recap, and here's the
Yeah,
whole race.
yeah, yeah. And it's one of those things you can throw on in the background and if you want to watch the whole race, you can have that in the garage or if you're cleaning, doing chores, whatever it might be. But yeah. No, I think as as much as we're poo-pooing on Formula One, the experience was incredible. You would expect being in a
Yeah.
Middle Eastern country that you'd be surrounded by, folks that are from the Middle East organically, but
Mm-hmm.
the UAE's, the minority is United Arab or Emirati citizens, so it's predominantly like expat Europeans, expat um,
Mm.
Americans. And so people watching, you look around and you're just like, man, there's some really European people walking around. There was this one guy or two dudes walking around like capri jeans, shirt off. They look like they were like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like bodybuilder types, no shoes, just walking around. That's like what they came to the race with. Just like
Huh.
kind of fits into some NASCAR stuff, but
I'm not
it's
sure you'd be allowed in an establishment in the United States like that.
yeah, it was quite weird. But no, man,
Hmm.
it was a good time. The weather was perfect. It was like between 70 and 80 during the day, and it got down in the 60s for the race. So just it was good. I wasn't
Hmm.
sure about the hill seating because you couldn't bring a chair. Um, like you had to sit on the
Oh yeah.
grass, but the hill was sloped enough that you didn't need a seat. Like you just sat down on the grass, and it actually was good enough. It would have been a pain in the ass to have had a seat with us the whole day. Um,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, and it was
Yeah,
cool. Like
usually
that.
when I do go, I general admission to like IMSA and same thing. It's like I usually, unless I've got the kids with me or something, I try and go as light as possible
Hmm.
just because I usually spend more time walking from corner to corner to corner to corner
Yeah, yeah,
and carry almost nothing except drinks and, uh,
yeah. We walked like 10 miles, I think, is what the tracker had said.
oh, wow.
It was nuts. Um,
Dang. How long was the race?
well, we were there for 12 hours by the time we got back to the car, and
Jeez.
there's a for it's called Ferrari World, and it's a Ferrari-based theme park that's just to the north of the track. And
Mm.
then there's a mall, Yas Mall, that's connected to it. So we parked at the mall, walked through Ferrari World, um, and then to the track. So that was a lot of walking. And then I mean, there was just stuff, stuff to do at the track. They had a bunch of
Hmm.
sim rigs set up. And so we spent some time racing on some simulators, Fanatec style uh, force feedback systems, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Uh, I did pretty good. My buddies, they're not sim racers
I
or at all.
was
And
gonna
I'm
say the
just like,
simulator thing, you've got a head start on.
yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, so just a lot of walking. But no, it was fun overall. So I would not spend that much money again, but I would do it
Mm.
again if it was like if you had to go back and say, would you buy the ticket? I'd still buy the ticket. I just would not do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess just so we don't come away with this thinking that we hate Formula One, I will go to a Formula One race someday. It's on
Yeah.
my bucket list. Yeah, it will happen. I honestly, people have told me you need to watch the Netflix special on it. I've met so many people that said, "Oh, I didn't like Formula One either," and then just kind of randomly watched that, and that's what got me into it. And I'm like, well, maybe I should.
Now, so I have a hot take on that.
All right.
I tried, and it's like I think it's good for those people who need to get into racing and like they don't they have never been a part of any motorsports thing ever. And so there's a lot of like build up and building a foundation of the sport, motorsports
Oh,
in general. And I'm just like,
oh,
this is kind of a cheesy reality show that talks about Formula One.
oh, is it?
Yeah. So I
Oh,
couldn't get into it. I tried. And they're like hour-long episodes, and
yeah,
it's about like how the drivers don't like each other and they pitter patter and
yeah. I figured that'd be the big part of it.
yeah.
Which
So
it like any motorsport, that's going to be kind of that's part of the drama, right? Especially, I
mhm.
mean, come on, NASCAR like wrote the book
Yeah,
on you
yeah.
know driver conflicts and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
I don't that stuff doesn't make me as queasy as maybe it should, but um, I would have a hard time watching that if it was like this is the tire and this is the brakes get hot
Hmm. Yeah.
and the fuel doesn't last for long. Like it's like all right, yeah, let's
Yeah.
fast forward.
Speaking of documentaries, I was watching a little bit of oh, what's his name? McDreamy from what's oh man, he's an IMSA racer.
Dempsey,
Yeah, Patrick Dempsey.
Patrick Dempsey.
Yeah, came back to like the Porsche GT Cup and they did like a 5-part mini series on YouTube.
Yeah, I need to see that. I last time I checked, I don't know if he may still drive a little bit, but I thought he might be like part owner of a team now.
He might be, but the whole thing was him coming back for this specific series. I think it was the Porsche GT Cup or something like that. Um, Haggerty was the one that sponsored it, so it's on their YouTube channel. But
Oh,
I think it's like 4 or 5
I need to find it. I
episodes.
need to join Haggerty's channel since
Yeah,
I'm a customer of theirs now.
yeah, me too. Hey, maybe one day we'll get some sponsor
Nice.
dollars. We'll add a
Maybe.
little logo right there.
Yeah, I like how you left plenty of room for logos.
Yeah, I totally did that on purpose. So have you been
Call it
doing
a happy
anything?
accident.
Have you been doing anything fast lately?
I'm afraid nothing too fast. Maybe we
Yeah,
should move into slow because I'm going to be the mayor of slow here for a while, I think.
sounds good. Will you kick us off?
So I'm obviously in the garage, dressed for winter because it's freezing out here in Ohio.
Mhm.
Um, but this is my first project. Obviously, I think like most people, everybody I've talked to, and I tell them like what I'm into and doing, they're like, "Oh, I wish I had the garage space and all that." And I'm like, "I don't either, dude. Like, I don't think you understand. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think so." I'll show you a little bit. It's dark. It's your normal 2 car garage. Nothing
yeah, yeah,
special. It might be special in the sense that obviously we've got a Tahoe in here, so it's not a
yeah.
tiny garage, but
I was about to say, yeah, it's
um,
deceiving. Those things are long.
it's and then I'm lucky enough the ceilings are tall.
Yeah.
They're they're 10 feet here and 12 feet here,
Oh,
so
wow.
it's not a tiny garage, I guess. So the big thing, and obviously I need to get set up to work. So we haven't been in this house for very long,
Hmm.
and I'm the computer's sitting on a workbench, so I've got like my welder and everything in here,
Hmm.
but I can't use it. I can plug it into 110. I can use 110 with it, but the first things first, I need to get a bunch of power in here. So
Yeah.
I guess to hopefully all this comes true because I'm going to tell you my plan, which is um, early January. You got a company coming to lift the garage door, so I'm going to do a high lift modification.
Mm.
Something that I thought I might do myself one day, but
Yeah.
the more I read about it, the more garage doors are pretty hazardous, and that's not a project that I want left half done while I figure it out.
Yeah. The springs are
So
pretty wild.
yeah, and then the price was super reasonable. A local company that has a good reputation,
Hmm.
so they're going to send it all the way up to the ceiling. And
Okay.
if you're a car guy, you can probably already know what I'm up to, which is trying to get a lift in here.
Hell yeah.
So the dream is have a lift, a pretty small one from Benpack. I think I'm looking at their 7,000. Uh, it's like 7,000 pound. It's narrow,
Hmm.
so it should take up less than half of this, slightly less than half of this garage.
Yeah.
So
How
we'll
high
get
does it
the lift
lift?
probably where I'm standing. It Oh, I should know this. It'll go too high, obviously.
Hmm.
The posts aren't very high. I want to say the posts are like, oh man, 6 or 7 feet maybe.
Oh, that's not bad.
So the post, the top of the posts aren't bad. Obviously, it's plenty tall enough that I could lift the car into the ceiling, and if I
Hmm.
had, an accident if I wanted to. So there's
Yeah. Yeah.
some precaution I'm gonna have to take to make sure that
Yeah.
never happens. But um, it's yeah, it's pretty. It's not too bad. And I've marked on the walls where it'll be, kind of footprint wise,
Hmm.
and it should work out. The goal is to get a lift in here be able to park the Tahoe next to it, and then I guess yeah, and then so a car on top and then a project on bottom. So
Yeah.
back to the electricity, the lift's going to need 220 volts, or I've opted. I would prefer it to have 220 volts. I think they have a
Hmm.
110-volt option, but as long as I'm going to wire 220 for the welder, and I think I'm going to put a heater in here because look at me, it's freezing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think ultimately what I'm going to do is put a sub panel in here, and I'm going to need 220 just about everywhere. I'll probably put two outlets for the welder, one on either side of the garage.
Yeah.
220 for a heater, probably near high on the wall somewhere, and then 220 probably on the ceiling to come down
Hmm.
to the lift.
That's a good idea. So you don't have
And
anything dragging across.
yeah, and then it also needs. I'm pretty proud of this, and we'll see. The wife is okay with it, but I don't know. I don't know. If she probably thinks I'm crazy. So since it is just a two-car garage, the lift also needs air power, air pressure.
Hmm.
So I've got a 30-pound DeWalt compressor or 30
Yeah.
gallon
Yeah.
compressor. But like I'm being super anal about floor space because that's going to be a premium. So I'm like I don't necessarily want the compressor in the garage.
Hmm.
Like how cool would it be? I've got friends that like have it in like the attic, and
Yeah.
some people have it outside, things like that. And I'm like, I can't. I'm in the burbs, man. I'm in like suburbia. I can't
Yeah.
have it
Yeah.
outside or anything like that. Um, but it just so happens that the wall behind me, the partially share. Oh, it shares most of it with the rest of the house.
Hmm.
On the other side of that wall is the interior of the house. So just below it is also we have a finished basement, but
Okay.
that wall in the basement is an unfinished kind of utility room.
Yeah.
So it happens that I have access to that back side of that wall without doing too much drama. So what I've
Yeah.
done now, I haven't plumbed anything, but I put the compressor in the basement in the utility room, and I'm going to try and send the pipe up through that wall.
Dude, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, so the compressor will be in the basement, and it won't be loud.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it'll be loud down there, but
What do you
not too
could you
loud.
could you put like a cover or like build a cabinet with like MDF or something that would
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know
I've
how
seen a
loud it
couple.
is in your basement, but
So that's the thing too. It's like, well, it's in a room that has a door, so it
hmm.
doesn't. It's not like in living space. It's in like a
Yeah.
utility closet.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I won't be. It's not likely that I'll be using it while people are in the basement.
Yeah.
Usually, my chances to work in the garage are when people are asleep, which is actually probably for the best because if it were in here making noise, it shares, more walls with living space that could bother people.
Hmm.
With it in the basement, if I were doing it when and out here using it while people were asleep. Oh, and then there's bedrooms above me. So
Yeah.
it's
You
like
could,
actually it works best that their basement that it's in the basement. It's the farthest away from the people, well, at least while I'll be using it.
convinced me. I say do it.
Yeah. We just gotta my only fear now is like, well, I'm gonna have to make sure that it's sealed up tight because I don't want it I'll have to leave it on. Like I used to be when it was in the garage, I'd just turn it off so that it
Mm.
didn't leak down and perpetually come on and on and on.
Yeah.
Now, so unless I want to go to the basement every time to turn on the air compressor, I'll just have to leave it on. So I'll just need to make sure it's sealed up tight so it's not kicking on in the middle of the night and making
Could you
me think that there's somebody in the basement.
could you couldn't you like since you're already plumbing the uh pipes through the wall, couldn't you run the electrical back through the wall and then put it to your whatever it is at 110 or 220?
Oh, actually, you know
So,
what? That's a good idea. I wonder if I'll just, yeah, I could run, if I'm going to put a sub panel in here, I could just, the outlet that powers the compressor, I could just have come off that sub panel so then I can just turn the
yeah,
breaker on
yeah,
and
that'd
off.
be
That's a good
that'd be
idea,
easy.
actually.
Yeah. And then the only
Nice.
thing you maybe consider is like have a scheduled like drain, just so it doesn't leave a bunch of water in the air compressor. You like monthly drain
Yeah. And
whatever
I've seen they
water's
have
coming
like
out.
the automatic, yeah, they have automatic drains. I've saw somewhere. You plumb, it's like, I don't know if it's on a timer how it works, but
Huh.
because that's the other thing too, it's on the bottom. I can't get to it. I have to like lean it over or set it
Oh,
down and then crack the valve and then set it back up and all that. So
yeah,
there's tons
yeah.
of people that replumb that to come all the way out so you can actually get to it.
Hmm.
But then I
That
was
makes
goofing off
sense.
looking online at stuff like that, and I saw somewhere they had like a little, you can buy a little timer for it to just do it periodically,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. Hey, oh, thanks. Kids are awake.
Nice. Keep forgetting it's morning.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's 8:05 here, and
yeah.
I don't know what the temperature is in the garage, but it is 19 degrees outside the garage Fahrenheit.
Oh, that's barf. That's gross.
So it's chilly, chilly morning here.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next one, which is a heater. And I think it's going to be an electric heater. I found
Hmm.
one that has good reviews. It's 7,500 watts,
Yeah.
which mathematically is overkill for this garage, but it's going to be one of those things. Like if you read online, it's like I don't want it to take 3 or 4 hours to get the garage to, from, let's call it 35 degrees to 50.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna get a pretty oversized heater so that I can open the garage door and then shut it again, and have a prayer of returning the temperature to light sweater temperature and not parka weather.
Yeah, dude, when we were in Omaha, there's a couple times like the car was like 20 degrees. Like I would like laser temp or infrared temp the car or
Mm-hmm.
like the metal things you'd be touching. It's just like it's like 20 or 30 degrees. And I can't work in those conditions. It's too much.
That's the worst. Yeah, I would much rather be hot than cold when you're working on a car anyway.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would agree. Being hot is better, but being in South Georgia for 3 years, dude, when it's when it's
Too
like
hot.
90 degrees outside and 100% humidity, there were times in the garage I'd do the same thing with my infrared gun, and it was like the metal was like over 100 degrees. Like it
Oh wow.
that's just too
In
much.
the garage?
Yeah. It it's
Oh
no
dang.
bueno.
Yeah, okay. I'll
And
take that
it
back then. That is too hot.
and I don't know, like you lose dexterity with cold, which I hate, but you also die with heat. So there's a couple times like I was like doing a project on the Camaro and I'm like seeing double and I'm like, Nick, you gotta go inside.
Oh my
Like
God.
you're gonna die.
You got to open the garage door, man. That's the fumes.
Yeah, exactly. You're not supposed to spray the brake clean in your face. That's weird.
Yeah. A dab will do you. You don't need to
Yeah.
douse it.
Yeah. Oh man. So
That
what's your
that
next
reminds me
project?
of
Oh, go ahead.
that
Go
reminds me
ahead.
of when we lived in Memphis, and in the summertime, I don't know if it's got to be comparable to Georgia, but the feels like temperatures would just soar over 100 degrees, no problem.
Hmm.
And so I had that Jeep Grand Cherokee. It was like a '98 Jeep Grand Cherokee with
Hmm.
the 5.2 liter or 318 for those of you, and it'd sit in the parking lot all day and bake in the sun. I wouldn't drive it to lunch or anything. I'd just sit there for a full 9 hours or so. I'd go
Hmm.
out there and turn it on, and you'd see the temperature gauge leave its resting place.
Yeah.
It's just the coolant must have just stayed at, call it 150 or something, or maybe that's probably
Yeah.
extreme, but it was enough
I'll,
that it registered. You'd go out there and key on, and the temperature gauge
That's
would move,
yeah,
and it
already
was,
at
for a
optimum.
you know dummy gauge on a late '90s American car, it was probably still hot.
Yeah, yeah. Man, it's wild. So bottom line, we just got to be in like perfect conditions to be in the garage. That's our Goldilocks over here.
It's I'm gonna resist the urge to acknowledge that we're just getting older. I think
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
telling stories about same thing working on Memphis, like and when we were in an apartment, or when I was in an apartment for a while, obviously no garage space at all. I
Hmm.
had a bag of tools that I just kept in the trunk, and that was my hobby. So if I had a big time repair or something like that, I would go to one of those open car washes, those do it yourself car washes,
Yeah.
because, well, assuming I could drive it there, they're lit up all night long, big bright
Hmm.
lights in a covered bay. So if it, you're shielded from the rain and stuff like that.
Yeah.
After hours, they were closed. Nobody'd be there, assuming it wasn't fenced off, which a lot of Memphis is, fenced off. But
Yeah.
it was like the perfect place. There was a hose to clean up your mess. There was, bright
Hmm.
lights, a roof. Like, I mean, you were ripe for the picking if somebody wanted to rob you, but that
Yeah.
wasn't what you were thinking about when you were younger. Like, I just need to get this thing fixed so I can get to work.
Yeah. 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 I would never do that nowadays.
Now I'm like, oh heck no, I need, I need a garage. I need a heater.
Hmm.
I need a tool chest.
Yeah.
A nice soft place to sit.
Yeah, dude, that's funny.
Getting weak.
We are. It's what I know you're into pedal carts. Is that something you're still working on now, or are um you going full bore
Yeah.
into
So this
the
is
actual?
so my daughter has a pedal car, and that got started just because I'll, I won't I won't drag this out too long, but like metal shaping is a relatively new hobby of mine in the last few years, and like I stumbled on it on Instagram, obviously. So, and then lo and behold, there's people relatively close to me in like Cincinnati and Indianapolis and places like that are actually really, really good at it. They may be some of the best at least in the United States. So I kind of latched onto them, and everybody's been super helpful. So that hobby's just kind of like grown and grown and grown, and I haven't. It's one of those things that it's like it's so time consuming and so difficult that even myself, I'm kind of just waiting to like lose interest in it, to be like, this just isn't fun anymore.
The
But it's
amount
been
of
the
scrap,
opposite.
the amount of scrap that I watch you go through, I'm like, that is some patience, my friend.
Yeah, I don't track that. There has been on both, on the pedal car on hers and on the one I'm working on now for my son. I've started the project like I'm going to track hours and I'm going to track money, and I've lost interest in that real quick because you're like, yeah, no, just I'm just it's just easier not to look. But yeah, that's a lot of fun. So the pedal cars were really just a way to get started in that, and obviously have an excuse to, the goal being like, if I'm going to spend all this, stress and time, the money is pennies compared to the amount of time that goes into it.
Hmm.
I was like, I'm going to come away with it that, the family benefits from somehow. So at least that was my excuse when my wife would be like, why are you spending so much time in the garage? Like, I'm building the kids a toy,
Yeah, yeah.
for the family. And so yeah, that hers came out better than I could have imagined. I mean, I look at it now and I'm like, it's terrible. I can see all. I mean, it's riddled with flaws. But for having never done it, when I finished it, I was like, it actually looks like the picture I had in my head. And that was my only
Hmm.
criteria for success, was I wanted it to look like an Early's open wheeled race car, like your background.
Yeah, yeah.
And it did. And I was super pumped about it. And a lot of the people that are really, really good at metal shaping, I got a lot of good feedback from them. So it kind of fueled the fire a little bit. And
Hmm.
now since then, obviously our son's been born, and it's like, well, I got to make him one, right? Fair's
Of,
fair.
of course, yeah.
Uh, and this one, So I set a really aggressive timeline. I was like, okay, I'm going to spend like just a year.
Hmm.
And of course, and it's, a year of nights and weekends. It's like, I got a day job too. I'm
Yeah.
not a pro at this or anything. So a year. Well, I started before he was born. He's 2 years old now, and I'm not done. So it's been a lot longer, but it's been his. The big reason is it's me. I mean, it's been interrupted by other life events and obviously moves and things
Hmm.
like that. But I've I've been too obsessive over this one. Now now that I'm closer friends with people that do this and are really good at it, and I see their work and watch what they do, there's been points where I'm like, I'm trying to. I think that I can do what they can do,
Hmm.
and it's just it's super unrealistic. Like these guys have millions of hours into doing this, and it's like
Yeah.
I've only got one project under my belt, so um, I'm but I've been obsessing over like how smooth, like making the panels super smooth and trying to make it in as few of panels as possible. So like, oh, that's a big, that's the game you play, is like I can make it into a whole bunch of tiny panels that would
Hmm.
be really easy to shape or easier to shape. But then I have how much welding to do? You got to weld all those panels together.
Yeah.
And then when you weld it, it warps and distorts. And then you kind of, it's like one of those two steps forward, one step back. You spend
Yeah.
all this time shaping each and every individual panel. They look perfect and they lay nice and flat. Then you weld it all up. And of course, you're not getting away from that. As soon as you weld it, it's going to warp the panel.
Hmm.
So then now you've got to take your new panel that's two halves welded together and iron all those wrinkles out, literally.
Yeah.
So you play this game of like, I could make really big panels that take a long time to shape, but less time to weld, or I could make small panels and, vice versa. But so my goal now is to get the shop here set up and finish his first. And
Hmm.
then, you know, while that's happening, obviously I've got the garage project isn't even started. So my only expectation in the near future is to hopefully by spring and summertime have his pedal car, the garage functioning the way that I want.
Hmm.
So I'm going to stick to that. Before I start the other project, we'll call it the sprint car project.
Yeah.
Uh, I want to have the pedal car done because my son's growing like a weed, and I'm worried that he's not going to fit in it if I take
Hmm.
too much longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
She even now still tries to sit in hers, and she's capable of it. She can't pedal it anymore, but she's capable of sitting
Oh.
in it, and I can pull her in it like a wagon. So
Yeah. Yeah.
the odds of somebody not fitting in it at all are pretty slim,
Hmm.
but still in a hurry to get it done.
Yeah, man. Well, it's super talented. Like watching the progress, as you progress on your first one. I It came out. I was like, did he buy that and just, fool us all? Like, is that a cart that was purchased? But no, man, it's pretty cool to watch the process, and I can't wait. I don't know if you'll probably maybe talk about maybe talk about the sprint car on another episode because that seems like a pretty involved uh
Yeah,
plan.
we'll leave that
Tease,
as a little teaser, and
yeah,
there's
gonna be,
there's obviously a lot to talk about that, and it's the same thing. I mean, you know I'm maybe somewhat recently into. I have this newfound affinity for like really really old cars. I never thought that I'd be into anything pre-war. Like growing up, it was all muscle cars, and even import stuff was like that was all the stuff that I was interested in.
mm-hmm,
And then I couldn't explain it, but all of a sudden, like maybe it was when I moved to Indianapolis and went
yeah,
to the museum, or start being exposed to some of that stuff and start looking up and reading books about the history of the Speedway and IndyCar, and obviously there's an overlap back when with USAC and sprint cars, and and stuff like that. And long story short, now that's my interest, especially, kind of the 30s, 40s sprint cars, especially
Hmm.
Indy cars. And then, it's hard to read to you can't really read up on that era and not come across, Duesenberg and some of those other brands, and then it's exposed you to some of their road going cars. So
Hmm.
honestly, like in a weird way, I'm leaning a little bit more towards the pre-war stuff, even on road going
Yeah.
stuff, and it makes me feel like an old man, but it's
You're
just hard to, I don't know, like it's hard to like explain. I don't know. When I was just in Texas last week, and one of the guys that had encountered, we'll say, um, big car guy as a hobby, and we started talking about cars. And he's like, "I got to show you some of the things that I have." This guy's like, he's got like 40 cars or something like that, and he just casually was like, "Here, they're in this warehouse over here." We walk over there, and it's like a mini Jay Leno.
That's crazy.
I was like, "Are you serious right now?" He's got like,
Man.
I don't know if you've heard of a Cord.
Mm-mm.
Look some of these up. They're
Yeah.
just, like Great Gatsby style cars, and they're everywhere. He's got
Yeah.
Cords and Auburns, uh, old like 16 cylinder Cadillacs, like the old
Man.
school stuff.
And the metalwork on
Like
that
some of
stuff
these
is
that are
just
just like,
incredible.
yeah, it's unreal. And it's like some of it is like you forget that car. I don't think there's probably a lot of people that didn't even know that cars used to be like that.
Hmm.
So if you think this Tahoe's big, you should go look at the 16 cylinder Cadillac. They're not the most thrilling cars. Like, of course, they're not going to be fast, but the engines are all super bizarre. It was a time when every company was trying to reinvent the internal combustion engine.
Hmm.
So you have 45-degree V's and 90-degree V's and some of the strangest carburetor setups you've ever seen, and
Yeah.
just some of that stuff that it just kind of makes you scratch your head and you go, this is like really cool stuff.
Hmm. Do you watch
I think it's cool anyway.
Chasing Class or yeah, Chasing Classic Cars, Wayne Creaney show?
Yeah.
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 They lean that direction for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, some of them, obviously, it's hit or miss. Some of the cars like of that era are just unobtainable, expensive. You'll
Hmm.
never be able to, at least I may never be able to.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that is you get the one, there's always that one model that's just not desirable. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, you could get into a Packard or something for reasonable money. And there you go. Now you're part of the club.
Yeah, man.
But I don't know if I'm going to do that. I think I still like the race car stuff. So far and away, my interest is being captured by kind of the 30, 40s circle
Hmm.
track stuff, Indy cars, sprint cars.
Yeah.
And long story short, I'm trying to build one. I'm trying to build a 37 sprint car
Yeah, it's gonna be
with
dope.
the help of some folks. Yeah, it'll be open wheel, flathead powered. I've got a lot of those parts, but
Hmm.
I don't want to hype it up too much. All I've done is collect parts, so put I still
That's a
have to
big part
fire
of the
up the
battle.
welder and make it real. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's a I'm at the worst part of a project now where, once I realized I wanted to do it, I went all in. I just
Hmm.
kind of loosened up the purse strings and started buying parts. So
Hmm.
I'm at that horrible part of the project where I've spent a whole bunch of money. I've got a whole bunch of parts that are taking up a whole bunch of space, and it's all kind of definitely useless, almost worthless until it's assembled into something that looks like a car.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Man.
even my wife's like, I told her how much I'd spent so far, and she was like, where is it?
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's scattered across the land. I've got some parts at a friend's house and some parts at another friend's house,
Yeah.
and it's got to all get here, and that's the need for the lift. I've got
Hmm.
basically three cars that need to fit in a two-car garage.
Hmm. With aspirations to build a fourth.
Um, yeah, that's the thing too. It's like I've got. It's hard not to daydream once you start seeing stuff like that. Like when I was in Texas, I was talking to him about um, the flathead V12 uh, Lincolns. There's just basically a flathead Ford, but Lincoln made it a V12. Or
Mhm.
somebody that hears this will probably know a lot more about it than I do. But I'm still getting into it and learning about it. So it's like, man, those are still around. You can still find running Lincoln flathead V12s.
Hmm.
I was like, now I've got all kinds of daydreams about what I would do with one if I could find one. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, the goal was that once one's done, you start the next for no particular reason. I'm not trying to sell these things or anything, but space is going to constantly be a problem, I think.
Yeah. Sounds like you need 10 acres and with a lot of land.
Yeah. Or even like, so we were in, I mean, when I was in Texas, I was in the city, like not
Hmm.
downtown, but in a very industrial part of town. I was not out in the country. And this guy was just like, yeah, that warehouse over there is where I keep all my cars. I was like, oh, I need a warehouse. Like, I guess
Yeah.
I don't need a farm field somewhere or a pole barn. I just need some rundown commercial space that I can get,
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
because it's free.
Yeah.
That's the thing too, is
Don't worry about
money.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
no, but it's exciting. I think I get really stressed out not being able to just come out into the garage and have everything, where it's supposed to be. So that that's the top of the list. Obviously, I wanted to show it to you, which is why I'm standing in the garage now. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll be a good. It'll be a good. I mean, since I haven't started yet, you'll see it come together if we keep doing this.
Yeah. I think
Um,
that'd be great.
Hopefully, relatively quickly.
Yeah. Well, once it warms up or as we get closer to spring, I'm sure there'll be some more motivation to get out there and do stuff.
Yeah. The other thing that nobody really prepares you for is the amount of like just household stuff that you probably prefer to have in the garage, like pot, like plants and just yard tools. And
Hmm.
so it's like I've got this nice layout, and I totally forgot that like my wife has stuff that she keeps in the garage. So
Yeah.
I totally neglected that. I have to
Uh,
have room for that too. It can't be every square foot can't be totally tools and automotive. There's some things that have to be out here that
yeah. Yeah.
are going to be in my way, but need to be there, I guess.
It happens, I guess. Yeah, I guess I could talk a little bit about what's going on with the Camaro and kind of what I'm thinking for the future.
Yeah. Yeah, you got
I'm
to explain why there's a Camaro in your background.
Yeah, yeah. So, owner of a 79 Camaro, bought it in 2004, built it for drag racing. It's more day two stuff. 410 ring gear, turbo 350, uh, slapper bars. And so that's how it lived for up until 2 years ago. And then I got the wild hair to go the pro touring route and do autocross and get big wheels and eventually big brakes. So that's kind of where the direction I'm going now. Um, and yeah, it's just like I guess over the past 2 years, 3 years, I've been throwing a bunch of handling parts because it's got a Blueprint 383 stroker, which is more power than I have traction right now, which is not a bad thing because it'll do burnouts no problem. I throw it in second gear and it still has a turbo 350. Down the road, we'll do a 5 speed conversion, but yeah, I'll throw it in second gear, dude, and I just slam the gas and it's like you're on ice. Like it just roasts the tires.
Oh man,
It's so much fun. But
that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, when I made the when I made the jump to like get more performance suspension and and changed all that. First one was the Hotchkiss rear leafs that lowered it. I think it's like an inch and a half or 2 inches. Um, and then I did upper and lower control arms in the front with lower end springs. Uh, and I didn't do. I was so new to this world. I kind of new to the handling road racing type stuff. And so I just was like, I just need to buy some
Hmm.
cheap shocks to throw on the car. And I went with KYB. They're like gas adjust. They're budget shocks, and they suck real bad. And I didn't realize how bad they sucked till I they're so stiff. Like they say they adjust and like based on like how aggressive you get with it, they'll I don't know, they do some sort of like valving on the inside, but they don't at all. And
Hmm.
I, I threw on a Hotchkiss sway bar last summer, and dude, it's it's awful. Like it oversteers like nobody's business around the autocross course. And I was so bummed because I'm like,
Really?
man, I spent, it wasn't a ton of money on the sway bar, but I'm like, you would think, you add a sway bar to your car, it would help. And it didn't. It drove
You
worse.
added it to the front?
The rear, so rear shocks, rear sway bars. And what I've found is doing some research. I have a lot of time to just do research. I have no time right now to be with my car because I'm in a different part of the world.
Yeah.
But uh, but yeah, so what it sounds like is so the sway bar is designed to, stop body roll. And I guess because I can't tune out some of the stiffness with those shitty shocks, uh, it like overemphasizes the
Hmm.
stiffness of the sway bar because it's a pretty big bar. I mean, it's a Hotchkiss bar. And it's got like three adjusters on it. So what
Yeah.
I'm leading into is I'm gonna go Vikings all around. So I don't know, have you ever heard of Viking shocks or Viking suspension? I forget the exact name of their company.
I haven't actually.
Yeah, so they're like the the brand that anybody in this, the Pro Solo and the, all the road racing stuff, second gen Camaro specifically. Well, let me take that back. Most muscle cars that try to handle will use Vikings. But they have a hybrid coilover for the front. So it's a normal coil that fits in the pocket of the suspension, just like your standard suspension coil. And then it
Hmm.
goes into a coilover like uh, body that then mounts to your normal shock mounting spot. And they're like 19 way adjustables. So like endless amounts of adjustment. So I'll have in the front, I'm going to go coilovers so I can drop the front down and then have that adjustment. And then they sell regular shocks, like just tube shocks, but they're double adjustable as well. And so they have like a tuning guide
Huh.
that they send you, and it's like, this is for street driving and it's a range. And then this is for autocross, and they give you a range, and then drag racing. Uh, and just you just turn the knobs, to change the valving.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that'll help, you know,
Interesting.
because the sway bar, like it helped a ton with body roll, but what it didn't do is like allow for the suspension to still travel, is kind of what I'm guessing. Because I was watching videos of it and I'm like, this thing is like
Yeah.
just skating around, but the body itself isn't rolling, which is great. But I need those shocks to be able to allow for some independent movement of the tires.
Yeah. With what little I know about suspension tuning, I would have been right there with you. I would have thought, oh, you put sway bar on the back, you should get more oversteer. I would have been totally caught off guard
Hmm.
if it was not that way.
Well, it's still oversteer, so it kicks out pretty hard. But
Oh, it does.
yeah, so what I need it to do is before it breaks, it just snaps. Like it's almost like
Oh,
there's no build up to it. It just, so I don't know. We'll see. Regardless, the shocks suck. Like all the forums are just like, KYB is the worst. And I'm like, well,
oh, oh, it's not okay. So it's a known thing. It's not like
it,
they're old or
mm-mm,
okay.
they just suck. So So, I mean, what better excuse to spend money on fancy, really nice looking polished aluminum shocks?
Yeah, that's the I think that's probably the biggest trap. It's not a trap, but maybe the thing that nobody appreciates, or maybe the least understood in the car hobby, whether it's engines or suspension, it's a system. So you can focus on any given part, but
Hmm.
it's not going to work all that well until you get the other part. And
Hmm.
then, the snowball effect continues. Each individual part costing more than you care to spend. And then that's the that's the hobby, right?
Yeah.
Now you're knee deep into expenditures and
Yeah.
uh, always chasing that. Like, well, I got this part's only 90 or 75% effective until I get you
Hmm.
know especially with like the more you dig in, well, you know better than probably I do about building an engine, but it's like, cool, you got a cam, not going to do
Yep.
anything really. It's not
Yeah.
going to do much except make a cool noise, which that's good
Yeah.
enough reason. But
You got to
now you
match
need
the
the
intake.
the intake manifold. Now you need
Yeah.
heads.
Yeah. So, no, and it's funny, like I go back and forth because I daydream a lot about racing and next year's autocross and whatnot. And I'm like, just, just run it as is and like get seat time. Just focus on seat
Yeah.
time. Don't do any projects. And then, I said, well, yeah,
Yeah.
but I really should do the suspension. And so we'll see. I'll get back in April and we'll see what wild hair I have under my tail to do stuff. What I do want to do is I want to get an MSD box because there's been some times at the autocross where I throw it in second, and that's typically plenty of gear for any of the courses I've ever been on. Um, to start in second, and that I have plenty of low end torque with the stroker. Um, but there's been a couple times where like I've topped out and I'm not focused at all on the RPMs, and I'm scared that I'm
Hmm.
gonna get in a point where like I'm not paying attention at all, and then I over rev the engine. So I'm probably gonna get an MSD, um, an MSD ignition box with rev limiter so that I can manage that a little better. And
So
that's pretty
do you not
easy.
have a rev limiter now?
Mm-mm, no,
Yeah, that'd be kind of spooky, I would think.
yeah, dude. When I took it to the strip last summer, uh, I was going for broke. I didn't care. I was gonna get the run I wanted because that was like the one time I'd driven it down the drag strip since I put the new engine in, and I'm
Oh
almost
boy.
certain I over revved. But I got my 12, so that's all that mattered. Uh, and
You're gonna be like the I think we're both still are, despite I think you've probably seen the news, but both roadkill fans
oh
and
yeah,
Mike Finnegan
yeah,
fans, and that gives me strong Mike Finnegan vibes of this, you know, amazing motor. I don't even know how much that would have cost, and the
yeah.
blow it up. Or some of that stuff is cringeworthy, but really good entertainment.
It is. Yeah, I would not have been entertained if I would have thrown a rod the top end of the strip.
Yeah, I think that's the entertaining value. Is like
Yeah.
I know that hurt, like his Hemi and all that. To
Oh
have
yeah.
something catastrophic happen to it is like the whole country, I think, shared in the pain of that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
but to ultimately prevail, that's the it
Hmm.
seemed like that was the roadkill way. Was
Yeah. Did
they
you
come out, they always make it.
did you see the movie he put on YouTube about this last year's roadkill?
No,
Or not
I
roadkill,
need
I'm
to.
sorry. Not roadkill, drag week. He went back on with Tony Angelo, and he spent a considerable amount of money on like quality. It's a super good
Hmm.
two-parter. It's very long. I think total it's probably like 4 hours, you know, between two
Oh wow.
videos. Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's really good. I have a lot of time on my hands here, so I get to watch that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, no, what's the one thing I was
I'll have to
gonna
do that. I'll be.
Yeah. To
I'll
finish
be
the thought
probably doing some
though.
traveling soon.
Oh, nice, nice. Oh man, I wanted to finish that thought on the. Oh yeah, yeah. The MSD ignition box, uh, it also has like more efficient spark at idle, and with the Lopi
Mm,
cam, I think because I've always had a problem with the exhaust fumes and it just being me trying to figure out how to get that perfect mixture. Um, like at idle, it's hard to. I don't know. I should just go fuel injection because I'm not a carb guy, but the apparently the MSD box will help like clean that mixture up or clean that um, air to fuel mixture up at low end or at idle, which I think will help. Just everything will burn cleaner.
yeah.
So,
That's
but
it's funny you say that you should just go fuel injection because I think the so 5 or 8 years ago I was super into fuel injection. I built that mega squirt box and put it on my Saab, jacked up the boost pressure and all that, and
yeah,
just to learn about fuel injection and fuel and timing maps and all that. And I still have all that stuff in a box somewhere. But
hmm
um, you were like when we were growing up, you were always the carburetor guy, the old school like muscle
yeah,
car and the you know fast and loud. You know, no copyright infringement intended there on the show.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
moving fast and making a lot of noise.
hmm
Uh, I feel like our paths are crossing back again. Now
Yeah.
I'm starting to accumulate carbureted cars and engines and getting more and more interested in the, you know, carburetors. And here you are talking
hmm
about wanting to get maybe fuel injection is the way to go.
Yeah, it's funny. No, Sniper just came, or Holly just came out with the Sniper 2, and apparently they fixed a bunch of the gremlins that were in the original Sniper. So I've got, we just talked about this a minute ago, but like I'm definitely going to do the suspension, like that's going to happen, but I really want to go 5-speed conversion. Tremec makes it's the TKX, and it's a bulletproof up to like 750 horsepower 5-speed conversion. So I want to do that. And then I also want to do EFI. And it's like, it's more a time thing. Like, we're going to move in the spring, and I just
Yeah.
don't want to start another project. That's why, like, I'm really trying. I
Yeah.
guess we're recording it now. Like, I just need to, besides the suspension piece, just enjoy the car. Like, it runs great. Like, there's no need to you know, do anything cosmic that keeps us in the slow category and not the fast.
Yeah. I
So,
do me a favor. I need you to stay fast for a while
okay. All
because
right. Sounds good.
I'm gonna have slow on lockdown for quite some time. So
Hell yeah.
you just
Yeah.
stay fast for as long as possible.
Yeah. I'll get back in like April. And so I'm hoping we'll move like July. And so I'm hoping to get like two or three more autocross events in South Georgia where we're at now. And then the top three locations we're potentially going to move to have SCCA autocross clubs, you know, right next door. So
Nice.
uh, I really want to hit at least once a month, maybe a couple times a month, just some events just to get better because I'm all in, but I've only done it 5 times, so I need more
Yeah.
experience.
I, I will say that being in proximity to something like that is huge. Because I had when we were in Memphis, I had done a couple track days and fell in love with that. I thought that was my place in the hobby. Like I was going to start doing track days, and then moved to New York and not near anything. And
hmm
then it became, I had no friends that did it, nobody at work that did it. No, it became this like it became a chore. Like
Yeah.
it was going to take so much energy to stay involved and to stay relevant and to work on projects that. And I don't feel bad about it now. Like now I could do something like that. I am close, and
hmm
maybe someday I will. But I'm so much more infatuated with other aspects of the hobby. But
Yeah.
for your sake, yeah, getting a club, or at least even if it's not racing, it's meeting up with people who do race and just
Hmm.
keep it, in your vocabulary.
Yeah. And eventually it is the goal to do track days with the Camaro. It being a turbo 350 automatic, that's too dangerous to take on a track because I'm worried about, I can't really keep it in third and be effective. And I don't want to be in a corner and like go from third to second in like it's got the 410 gear, so it's a harsh like third to second shift. There's a huge possibility that I'm going to lock
Yeah,
the rear tires and then, go off into the sand or,
yeah,
whatever. So I have to do that, and uh, I have to do brakes. Like those are like my two safety things that I'm not going to skimp on is brand new big
yeah.
brakes and a 5 speed because the safety's already there. Otherwise, I've got the roll bar and harness and racing seats and all that stuff. So,
Mm,
but I don't want to be doing 120 miles an hour and, you know, not have brakes. That would suck.
yeah, yeah. I think if you'd be doing, depending on the track, I think you'd be doing a lot faster than that. The
Well,
the first time I was on a track day, my instructor showed me around the course in his CTSV.
hmm.
Granted, it was at Memphis International Raceway, and their road course used the drag strip as the straightaway. And then, so there's the drag strip, and then the shutdown area was
Hmm.
also all part of it. So you had a very long straightaway.
Yeah.
Uh, um, and he was doing 155 down the straightaway in his V,
Yeah.
and he even
That's
stopped. It was
fast.
limited at 155 from the factory, so we'd hit 155, and he'd even chill there for a
Like
minute. Like, I
back.
can't go any faster; it's limited.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling you're with your 383. If you got the right straightaway, you'd
Yeah.
see 120 come and go.
Well, I guess the other thing that, like, here we go. Parts are building. Parts list keeps growing. So it's
Scope
it
creep.
still has the 410 gear that we put in for drag racing. So uh
Oh, true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
yeah, it's currently I was at top like it's perfect for drag racing. Like literally I crossed the beams at Redline, 6 grand or something like that.
Nice.
Uh but I was doing 112, 115, something like that.
Mm,
So yeah, it doesn't have any
okay.
more it doesn't have much more. That's probably as fast as it'll go. I am debating. You're gonna love it. So the the center section we got from a junkyard, I think, or my dad got it somewhere like American Driveline or something like that. Used. It was like on the shelf, posi traction center section, and then I bought a Jegs
Yeah.
410 gear. Uh, and so that it's been awesome, dude. I mean, you've been a part of many burnouts throughout the years, and I've slammed that thing, and it's finally the
Yeah.
clutches are finally starting to go. So if I go left, both tires will spin, and I can do like a Dukes of Hazzard. If I'm turning left, I can kick it out and be cool. If I go
Yeah.
right, it's a one wheel wonder. If I go right, punch it, and try to kick it
Mm.
out. And so part of me, I have lots of parts of me. This part of me, uh, I just want to send it to a shop. I've got a local shop that I trust, um, and buy like a what is it? Yukon? It's not Yukon. Oh man, True Track, rear diff,
Oh, okay.
and then change the gear to like a 373, which is a much more palatable gear, especially if I have like a 5 speed overdrive. 373 back rear
Yeah.
gears, that I'd be able to do highway speed, no problem. Now it's, 60 miles an hour. I'm at like 4,500 RPM, which is it's insane.
No.
It's so loud.
Yeah, that's a little aggressive. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice,
So yeah, those are the things that I want to do. All things considered, I
nice.
think the suspension I can do, and the MSD box I can do. Like I'll get some time R&R when I get back, so I'll knock that out when I'm just kind of recouping, and then I'll send it
Yeah,
off for the rear diff because that's if that goes, that's gonna leave me stranded. If I smoke the differential, so I
yeah.
have to do that, and then from there
You could
I'll
just chalk that up to a maintenance item.
hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we got our money's worth. I think it was a couple $100. So, uh,
Yeah.
so I think those are the things that I don't know. Maybe next episode I'll change my mind, but that's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm at. So,
Nice.
well, man, we've been going
Excellent.
about an hour and 20. So,
Yeah,
you want to
that's
pause it
pretty
there?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Cool.
call it
Well, what
uh
what's your social media handle? Where can they find you?
the I guess the relevant one is Hammer Formed on Instagram.
Cool.
Uh, spelled as you would expect. That's my public profile where I document my metal shaping journey, we'll say, and I use it. I use it as a way to interact with other metal shapers and anybody else that asks questions. And there's a lot of people. Obviously, it's an interesting process. So it's fabrication at its core. I mean, I'm using aluminum and welding aluminum and a lot of TIG welding and different techniques to get it done. So if you're into fabrication or metal shaping or pedal cars, that's what's dominating that page right now.
Hell yeah. Yeah, man. I'm at
How about
clutches underscore Camaro. That's my main channel for everything that I'm doing with the Camaro. So it's pretty dormant now. So we'll once I get back to the States, it'll be
you?
a lot more active. All right. Well, to the third audience member, I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation, and definitely look forward to doing more of it. And yeah, just see you guys next time.